Welcome to SSE Essentials, a podcast series exploring entries in the newly released Encyclopedia of the Social and Solidarity Economy, or SSE. The Encyclopedia is your comprehensive guide to the SSE, a concept recognized globally for its potential for inclusive and sustainable economic and social development. Published by Edward Elgar, the SSE Encyclopedia is a collective work of the United Nations Interagency Task Force on SSE, or UNTF-SSE. For today's episode, we have invited Judith Hitchman, LIPES Intercontinental and Urgency International Community-Supported Agriculture Network, who contributed to the encyclopedia 2 entries, Food and Agriculture Sector, and Reduction of Hunger and Poverty. Thank you very much for joining us today. Could you briefly introduce yourself for our listeners?
Thank you very much indeed, Il Chung. It's a pleasure to be with you. So my name is Judith Hitchman, and I'm Irish. I have been involved in both social solidarity economy and food sovereignty since the 1990s. I'm not a young person. I'm a seasoned activist, and I've been working on building the bridge between these two elements for the last 30 years and more.
Let's start off with a question about the SSE and yourself. As we can see from your affiliations, you are a world-renowned food sovereignty activist, but you are also an advocate for the SSE. What do you think the SSE means to food sovereignty activists like you?
Well, it's my deep belief, and has been for many, many years, and is increasingly confirmed, that in order to achieve food sovereignty, that we need system change, we need a paradigm change. And SSE is, to me, the most rational, the most useful, and the optimal way of achieving that system change. For a simple reason, SSE is a joined-up approach that can be applied to all dimensions of life. It's not just something for pulling people out of poverty. It is something that fundamentally changes our approach to everything from how we manage water, how we manage health systems, how we manage finance, and how we manage our food systems from seeds to plate.
Let's talk about your entries. You wrote 2 entries, Reduction of Hunger and Poverty and Food and Agriculture Sector. Both entries are very much closely related to each other, but have different foci. So what did you want to share with readers through your entry on reduction of hunger and poverty?
I think what I've been trying to share is the fact that we are living through a multiple crisis of climate, COVID, conflict, and more. And we need policy change, we need system change, and it is not through charitable food banks that are managed by the large corporations, but by the empowerment of communities at local level to grow their own food and have short supply chains, such as community-supported agriculture, farmers' markets, farmers' shops, community land trusts, and so on, that we can actually work on the whole paradigm change, and also through agroecology, which is not just an agricultural science, but which is a social science that includes SSE, or Solidarity and Circular Economy, as one of the levers for social change, and thus reduce hunger and poverty.
You have another entry, Food and Agriculture Sector. What were the key points you wanted to highlight in your entry on Food and Agriculture Sector?
I think we need to highlight the fact that everything starts with seeds. and agrobiodiversity. And this is a really hot topic today in the world because with climate change, we are losing our agrobiodiversity. And it is not through new breeding techniques, in other words, modified seeds, that we can get there. Technology isn't the answer. Food and agriculture needs to work with our indigenous systems, with our localized responses, because everything is out there, be it in terms of growing fruit, vegetables, raising animals and herding, or fisheries, which are also facing the same issues. So food and agriculture, particularly through the input of civil society and the civil society and indigenous peoples mechanism of the Committee on World Food Security, and our joined up social movements approach is really key in bringing all of the answers, including social and solidarity economy, to the table. For example, the Committee on World Food Security is currently working on a work stream on inequalities, and SSE has a critical role to play there. And we are trying to bring the conclusions of the International Labour Council last year through into the FAO through that work stream. Now, I don't know if we'll succeed, but these are the levers for reducing food and hunger and empowering communities at all levels through SSE and the multitude of different solutions that it can provide. And it's not something new. I mean, there are things like the Bolsa Familiar in Brazil that go back 20 years. There's Teikei in Japan, which also goes back to the 1970s. So the answers are out there. It is essential, if we are to even approach improvement on SDG 1 and 2, that we work on the SSE dimension. It's never been more critical than it is today. And we've never been further from it than we are today.
Thank you very much, Judith Hitchman, for being with us.
And thank you for having had me on this podcast. I really appreciate it.
That's all for today's episode of SSE Essentials. The Encyclopedia of the Social and Solidarity Economy is available online for free. It is also for sale in hard copy for your libraries or bookshops. Check the links in the podcast description to get your own copy. Thanks for listening and stay tuned for the next episode of SSE Essentials.